think golf is a very good analogy for life, actually. I think that's why it's always attracted me. There's not many things that have stuck with me my whole life, but golf is a game of paradox. Golf is a game of contradiction. Golf is all of these things. And the harder you try to put the ball somewhere, the less likely you are to actually succeed in putting it there. And so there is this element of giving up. But one of the things that people will say about golf, and it's very true, you're facing a difficult shot and there's water on one side of where you're trying to hit the ball. So on your left side, is a big lake. And anything that goes to the left is going to go in the water. And obviously you don't want that to happen because you lose your golf ball and it's bad and this, that, and the other thing. And so, but what do we do? Well, we tell ourselves, don't hit it in the water. Like, don't hit it in the water. I don't want to hit it in the water. And what is our brain? I mean, the more you say that to yourself, the more you're likely to hit it into the water. And in fact, when I used to play with people, we would make these little snap bets. Like, hey, I'll bet you $2 that you hit it in the water. And 9 out of 10 times I did that to some people, they would hit it in the water. And if I didn't say anything, they may hit it in the water 4 out of 10 times. But all of a sudden now, even though it's like, don't hit it in the water, your brain just sees water. And again, this goes back to what we were talking about before we started this. It's a symbol. Maybe the brain doesn't understand complex things in some ways, or whatever, or the universe, or whatever we do doesn't understand the complexities of things. And so it thinks in pictures, it thinks in images. So it doesn't understand change, it only understands the end state, which is why Neville Goddard used to say, always go to the end. Live in the end. Don't try to figure out the middle. If you know what you want and intentionally choose that's what it is, that's what I'm going to have. That's me. I am this person. Not I'm going to be, because the brain doesn't understand going to be. It's like the analogy of either you're pregnant or you're not pregnant. You can be trying to be pregnant. I mean, I know I have friends who are trying to be pregnant. They're trying to have a kid, but they're not pregnant. You either are or you aren't. And I think that there's a truth in that here as well of either you are, either you have convinced yourself truly that I am this, whatever it is. I am rich, I am loved, I am popular, I am famous, I don't know, I am with this person, whatever it is that your flavor that you need, that your greater self is telling you, but the only way to get there is to say I am, is to see yourself that way first. And I've always tried to figure out why. Like, there's these weird, so there's a part of me that, and anybody who happens to be listening who's a nerd, part geek like I am will get this, is there's a part of me who's actively a rules lawyer. And if you've ever played D&D, then you know what a rules lawyer is, and they're generally not very fun people to be around. It's well, actually, the rule book says on page...
Teacher, we had homework.
Right, exactly. Or I remember from The Simpsons way back when, there was some, Comic-Con convention, and it was for Itchy and Scratchy, and one of the nerds, quote unquote, from the comic book shop was like, yes, I have a question. In episode, 2B4, the xylophone was hit, the same note was hit twice, but there was a distinctly different note played. Did somebody get fired for that mistake? That's, and there's a part of me that is at least when it comes to understanding is very much like that. It's like, wait a second, if something's going to work, it should work every time. Otherwise it's like, you don't go into war wondering if your gun's going to fire. You need to, that's why, this is my gun. There are many like it, but this is mine, and that's sort of my brain seeks that understanding, but it's in the letting go that you get that. It's in the just saying this is who I am and actually choosing to believe, not that you are that person necessarily, because that is physically impossible for our brains to do, in my opinion, because our brains do not have that, meaning our literal meat brains do not have that capacity, because it is not logical or rational in any way, shape, or form to say I am rich when I'm looking at $3.72 in my bank account, or half a tank of gas and a pack of cigarettes and 110 miles to Chicago. Let's hit it.
And it's dark and we're wearing sunglasses.
It's dark and we're wearing sunglasses. It's a, and thank you for picking up on my really dated, probably politically incorrect Blues Brothers.
Maybe. It's one of my dad's favorite movies. We have an ongoing debate that it's a musical, so he says it's his favorite musical, but it is categorically not a musical, because in musicals, the songs need to move the plot forward. So To anyone listening, Blues Brothers is not a musical, but that's besides the point.
I heard a Christmas movie.
Do we have a
You're
strict
asking the important
definition?
questions here, folks.
Right.
These are the important questions. That's why you tune in. Stunning.
This hard-hitting.
Like this hard-hitting
Yeah.
news. This just in.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think that they're with the paradox of it all, right? That it's like it is almost trying to convince yourself of the impossible, but you can't convince yourself of something that isn't quote unquote true. But I was thinking just the other day about like trying to manifest money, right? Because that's always felt like such a weird thing to me. Or like manifesting a partner has also always felt weird to me. And I don't know why those two things, even though those are like the most popular things that people try to manifest, right? Why it feels so like kind of icky. One, with another person, it's like it does kind of get into free will for me. And I'm like, if you're trying to manifest an actual person that you know to fall in love with you, I'm like, that feels weird. If you're just trying to manifest like loving relationships for every, like a loving relationship, I'm like, that's a little better. I think it doesn't feel as like controlling. But with money, I'm like, why does that feel so weird to me to want to like manifest? And I think it's because we do have this thing that's like, oh, it's icky to want, it's icky to need, it's icky to have that kind of desire, that greed, right? It's like there's something weird and bad and ugly about it. And in manifesting money, it's like, you can't convince, like exactly like you're saying, you can't convince yourself that you have more, like there's more zeros in the bank account than just zero, that there's any numbers in front of all the zeros. But I was thinking about, there's a trend right now on TikTok. I feel like I'm always talking about TikTok trends, which is a self-report, I suppose. But it's some video that someone will take and over it will say rich because blah, blah, blah. I've seen this with my own eyes. Rich because these are my friends. Rich because I made one the other day that was rich because I just woke up from a Sunday afternoon nap to this view. And it was a video of the view outside of my apartment. And it's like, how can I not feel rich? And I do wonder if in this like impossibility, there is some kind of rules lawyering about it that is aligning with the feeling of being rich in a realistic way that doesn't feel like money, 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 money when we're talking about it. But I do like what you're saying about change too, because we know how hard change is on the brain. My therapist always, anytime I'm going through big change, she does such a good job of reminding me, like, you know how hard change is and how hard it is for you specifically too. And with me moving to another country, she's been very cognizant of keeping that at the forefront of my mind, that she's like, keep in mind you're in change thing that's like the old Dare commercials, that's the egg and then the scrambled egg. This is your brain on drugs. We talk about that, but it's this is your brain on change, all scrambled up, because it's like, truly, that is your brain on change. You're in fight or flight. Your parasympathetic nervous system is turned on, right? Because now there's also freeze, fawn. There's like 7 different F words now, but
they keep adding.
But you're in that state, right? We're not made to exist there. We can't. It's literally like the rest and digest is what happens when our cells repair, when we digest food, when we heal, when we come back together. It's in the other mode when, like, it's almost like when you're working out and you're actually tearing your muscles. And that's why you have to rotate muscle groups, is for the muscles to be able to grow and heal and repair. And it's in the repairing that they're getting stronger because they're building like muscle calluses around it. But there are good ways to your muscles and it's healthy for you. It's good for you, right? But also, you are tearing something up. And I do think that's very much what change feels like, where it's like, it's something we can get better at, but it's not our natural state.